Okay, go.
All right, you guys. Full disclosure Friday, week 5.
Week number 5.
This is kind of getting fun. We're really geeking out on this.
Yeah, we're actually starting to do okay at this.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Try it at least.
But we're gonna stop saying the numbers because it'll be arbitrary at some point. Like
Just every week going forward.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So here we are. We're gonna talk about March stats, which are super positive and exciting, phenomenal to talk about.
Exciting.
The other thing we're going to talk about is some things that buyers fail to ask, or questions or investigations that buyers fail to do prior to buying a house that can definitely affect the affordability of the house or your enjoyment of said house.
Some of the off-the-wall stuff that buyers should ask, don't ask, need to ask, could really affect your living experience going forward.
That's what I just said.
No.
Okay. Anyway, Team Lee had a phenomenal week. Just want to talk about a few things because I don't think anybody ever listens to us till the very end.
Yeah.
So we have a couple things going on. We were the number 2 team in all of Roseville, which is really exciting, next to the Deborah Massey team, which has a huge group of people. Huge team.
We are just a team of 2.
We're just a team of 2. So it's kind of a big deal. So we were right under them in terms of, success for the month of March. Another big thing, we had a house close yesterday. Super exciting. We've got a couple other pendings. Matt's negotiating a couple offers right now.
Very exciting.
So we got that going on. And then I have a really great open house this weekend, a brand new listing, 1215 Kaysburg Circle in Roseville. A super cute 1-story house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in a really great neighborhood close to parks and schools. Roseville's really hot and it's only listed in the high 300s. Like it is priced to sell.
Go fast.
So the weather's great. Come see me. If not, just to get a cookie and say hi and chat with me.
And we have another listing coming up in the Granite Bay area at the end of the month, so we're super excited about that one as well.
Yeah.
We'll tell you about that next week.
So good things happening.
Yeah.
So you want to kick it off with some statistics?
All right, guys. I'm gonna try and not make it boring. Kel says I'm super boring when I talk about stats.
This is a little boring.
No, it's not. All right, so I could get the dance now.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about stats just real quick. We're talking about El Dorado, Placer, Sacramento, Yolo counties.
They like to call that the 4 counties.
The 4 counties. So anyways, combined. Right now we have about 3,300 homes for sale. Seems like a lot, really isn't a lot. It is definitely a seller's market right now with about a month and a half of inventory out there for all those counties combined. And the amount of homes for sale is up about 2.7% versus last year. So not a huge increase. Everyone's like going crazy. They're like, oh my God, there's so many houses on the market. We need to sell, we need to sell, we need to sell. Everybody stop freaking out, stop panicking. There's a good amount of inventory, but not too much. It's actually like perfect right now. It feels like a fantastic seller's market. Versus last month, for March, up about 29% in sold properties versus last month. A little bit down versus last year, but when you go to look at the pending transactions, up 32% versus February, which is
crazy.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic sign. Weather's great. Everyone's out there. The economy's looking pretty strong. Interest rates have gone to a multi-year low, which is fantastic. And it's flat versus last year too, as far as the pending. So April's looking great as well as far as the transactions.
There's no market crash in our future, Matt?
Nothing that I foresee in our future. So
numbers don't lie. The media can kind of,
So a couple months ago, California was crashing and gonna slide into the ocean or something like that. So that is not the case.
Fake news.
Just a Trump reference. Wow. April's looking strong too, 43% versus the previous month of March. We're only a couple weeks into it, so not a lot of data there, but it's looking really, really strong. And then average price per home that has sold and price per square foot up about 4% respectively as well. So really, really strong. We got a lot of people asking time to sell, time to buy, what are we gonna do? Definitely a seller's market right now, especially in some neighborhoods. Cal alluded to like Roseville, Rockland area. There's definitely tons of neighborhoods around Sacramento as well that there's not a lot of inventory at all. So it is a fantastic time to list and sell your home if it's priced well, looking great, ready to roll.
Roseville specifically right now, like if you have a house to sell and you price it right, it's gonna go.
Yep, you're saying pretty.
Yeah.
So we just saw a lot of data and information about Roseville, specifically surrounding areas, and it's
at our sales meeting this week. So
extremely strong right now. So we're excited. Good. Cal.
All right, so I'm going to kick off some things that fall a little close to home for us that we'll talk about later. But some things that buyers sometimes in the heat of the transaction
Us
and
included.
in the emotionalness of purchasing your dream home, forget to ask. That can totally change your enjoyment of the home, the affordability of the home. So the first couple things that I think are really important. The first thing.
Well, I guess like the things we always talk to our clients about usually is like the condition of the home.
Well, that's like a given,
Well,
right?
yeah,
But these are
location of
some
the
things
home,
that.
maintenance of the home.
Well, that's like a given.
Yeah.
Yeah. But these are things that I think other people and other realtors forget to instruct their clients on. And I think that we really make sure that we do for our clients. So making sure that you are asking to see the most recent utility bills of the home you're purchasing. So this is all fair game, especially during your investigation period that you have, where you have, 17 days typically to investigate anything about the home that you need to know about.
Right.
And this is especially crucial if you are moving areas, meaning that you are going to go from one electric district to another, whether you're going to SMUD to PG&E, or your Roseville Electric and you're going to go to PG&E, or the house you have now has solar, and then the house you are purchasing doesn't have solar. Another really important thing is, if for water, if you are currently on a house that doesn't have a pool and you now are purchasing a pool.
Or you live in a condo or a townhome and you've never had a lawn in your life, and now you have a giant, huge lawn front and back. Yeah.
Or you're, moving from the city to the country and now you're on 3 acres. Like, oh my gosh, how much water is that going to take?
That's us.
So these are some things that can totally affect the affordability of your home. So, your mortgage, your loan originator is going to look at all your bills and everything in your credit and your assets and figure out, can you afford the mortgage payment? Can you afford the insurance and the taxes and that little nut to crack every month? But what your realtor and you really need to figure out too is, am I going to be able to afford the utilities for this home? Because that can make a huge difference and sway, your bills thousands of dollars each way each month. And so this is something that falls a little close to home for Bat and I.
Thousands seems pretty extreme.
But
so we talk about, and we have a lot of clients who are buying homes looking for, and they're kind of at the top of their budget. And when you don't take those things into account, the differences in water and electric and gas and propane, if you move to the country, can be $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 difference a month, which adds up to, obviously anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 difference a year. That's a big chunk of change, and a lot of people don't really take that into account because they're used to living in a condo, an apartment, a townhome, and they don't have to encounter a lot of these things. So,
and they don't have a point of reference of how much it could be.
Yeah.
Because they've had it just one way forever.
And we're getting this a lot right now because we have a ton of clients that are moving from the Bay Area to the Sacramento market, or from the Sacramento market to the foothills. And so
also because interest rates are so good, people are utilizing this to
very true.
upgrade. So I'm currently in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and interest rates are so good, and it's a seller's market. I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to upgrade to my forever house. I'm going to upgrade from 1,500 to 3,000 square feet, or 4 bedrooms, or a bigger yard, or a pool, or whatever the case may be.
So this is personal for us. So we moved out of Curtis Park down in Sacramento, and then we moved up to Meta Vista. On
acreage?
Almost 3 acres up here, and it's our dream home, forever home, live and die in this home. Well, maybe not die in the home, but we were really emotional, loved it.
Got excited.
It needed a little bit of work, and we're doing it. We saw it, pulled the trigger, and we didn't really take some of these things that we're talking about in consideration. We didn't even.
This is when realtors need realtors, and even if you're married to a realtor,
And we thought about it, but we didn't worry about it. And then it definitely was a little bit of a difference in, our bills.
Your PG&E bill should never have a comma in it. And if it does, that's the night you drink a bottle of wine, or two.
So definitely something that you should talk to your realtor about, and we talked to each other, and, we were blinded by emotion and excitement. So
this is something that, you can ask during that 17-day contingency period for investigations, and ask your realtor to ask the other realtor for, the last month's statements for PG&E, for water, for garbage, for whatever, so that you have a real understanding of what it takes and what it costs to maintain this home.
Yeah.
Because it's so different from city to city. In Sacramento, water, sewer, garbage is all one bill. You move up to the foothills or Rockland, Roseville, it's totally different. You know, your water's one, your garbage is one, your sewer's another. So
It's something we try to be really conscious of for our clients, because we don't want any of our clients to move into a home and then be house rich and life poor, and nobody wants that. So we want to make sure that, you know, that's a fantastic experience and you guys are comfortable, and you know, you have the ability to do everything you want to do in that new home, especially if you need to do a little bit of updating it. So another thing we really look at too is just kind of the neighborhoods in general. And we get a lot of clients who are like, how's the neighborhood? And you know, so Kel and I will literally knock on the neighbors' doors, and we'll talk to the neighbors, and we'll kind of, you know, get an idea of, was there any issues or squabbles or disputes or misunderstandings, you know, or how's the neighborhood? And so we give all that feedback to our clients so that they, you know, that they have a better idea of where they're moving and what they're going to experience and how their neighbors are. And that's the big thing. That's
because you never want to move in next door. And, you know, this is something that sellers don't typically disclose in a TDS. You know, so a transfer disclosure statement, sellers have to fill out and they have to disclose all this stuff. Unfortunately, sellers are not going to disclose that the lady next door is a raving lunatic and screams at the top of her lungs and, you know, doesn't like people driving down the road, or, you know, there's all sorts of crazy things that happen, or this lady doesn't like when leaves fall in her yard. I mean, these are things that can definitely affect, you know, your enjoyment of your home, and things that you should be aware of, or at least be educated enough to be like, oh, you know, at least I know about it and I can deal with that. Or this is something I can't deal with and I'm going to go try to find another home.
right.
These are really important things.
And that's one thing. I mean, we did it on our own home that we purchased. You know, we went and met our neighbors and talked to them before we ever closed on the purchase of the house. And luckily, you know, we have, you know, John on this side and John on that side, and then we have a John on the other side.
Literally surrounded by Johns,
and then two of the other neighbors are Andy. It's easy, super easy for me to remember names, with terrible names, but yeah, I mean, that's a big thing too.
That's really funny. We're surrounded by Johns. That sounds horrible.
That does sound bad. Not those kind of Johns. That's this John's like 76. I mean,
but anyway, another thing that I think is really important too is understanding, especially if you have kids, the way the school district works.
Oh, yeah.
So I know, you know, like in Rockland where I once lived, you know, you have a neighborhood school and you have to go to that school if you live in that neighborhood. And then in Sacramento, we have a neighborhood school, but you could be a part of a lottery system and get your kid to another school. So understanding how the school district works, which schools your house would be going to, you know, would be really, really crucial. The ratings of those schools. This is even important for young married couples. You know, you may not be thinking about this stuff, but a lot of times, you know, this will be the house that your first kids come home to, or, you know, that you raise them for the first few years in until you start, you know, until your family gets bigger. And these are things that you should know about, even if you don't have kids. Also, just for the resale value of the investment you're purchasing.
Yeah, and we have more and more clients specifically asking about the best schools and then want to move around the schools. So it's not as much the city, but where at in these cities or towns. So it's becoming really, really important, because there's some school districts which are awesome and there's some that are,
or like even schools within a district, you know, there's some schools that are phenomenal and then some that are not, all within the same district. So it's not just a blanket thing like, oh,
right,
every school in Rockland is amazing or every school in Roseville is amazing. A majority are, but maybe there's one or two that are outliers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have anything else that you think we want to touch on?
No, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we see, we can communicate to you, and we'll see a lot of it through like a, you know, disclosure like Kel talked about, or a title report as well. And we'll see if there's any issues with like property lines that
you know what I
up quite
think
a
about
bit.
too? Megan's Law. Go online and pull up, like as a mom, that's really important. Like when we lived in Sacramento, it was scary when you pull up Megan's Law, how many sexual offenders are around your home. That's really an important thing to do, and people fail to do that. That's not part of the disclosure process, the typical disclosure process in real estate, but as a mom is something that's really, really important to me. And people either forget to do it or their realtors forget to advise them to do it. But I would definitely take a look.
Absolutely.
And just so you can be cognizant. So as your kids are playing in the neighborhood, knowing where some of these offenders are and to keep your kids away from those areas, I think is really, really important.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Especially with us being the parents of young children. We're hyper
sensitive to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's all we got, though.
That's all we got today. So quick one for this Friday, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week, we're going to talk about marketing and marketing your home for sale, the importance of professional photography, and kind of, online ads, web ads, Facebook ads, kind of what that all looks like and what is